Welcome everyone to Series 6 of KidLit International. It has been quite a while, but we have regrouped and we have a couple of new faces. We have Lauren, who is an international best-selling screenwriter, podcaster and author, and Emma, who works for international award-winning publishing houses as an illustrator. And we also have with us Karen, Holly and Chris, who are all international award-winning authors with us today. So welcome everyone. We're going to dive right in, and today for our first session, we're going to be talking about the importance of social media and why it's essential for authors to brand themselves. So the floor is open. Who would like to go first?
It'd be the person that wrote the book on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which actually, since the last series, I have literally written the book on it. And also, social media, since the last time we chatted about this, has changed dramatically. A year ago, there was the little blue bird that a lot of authors over the years have built a big following with, which is now effectively a toxic brand. You've got Facebook that, again, over the last couple of months has changed and has taken away all those barriers that stopped checks and bullying and everything else online. The incredible thing I've seen over the last 6 months is everyone use LinkedIn. It's safe, it's far more business-like, and I'm getting more book sales from LinkedIn than I have from any other social media platform, which is great because you're not getting that bullying side of the things, you particularly on whatever Elon Musk has called his platform this month, and you're not seeing what you're seeing from Meta and everyone else of bowing down to political pressure and taking away all the checks and balances that used to be there. Blue Sky is coming out as a new option that people should definitely investigate. TikTok, where if you're an illustrator, is fantastic because you have the visual to give to people in the same way as Instagram. If you're not an illustrator or a photographer, it's far harder because we're using words and they're more visual platforms. But the most important thing, as an author, you have to have a brand. Your book is only a product. It's what you sell. Your brand is what will build your profile. Two of the things I was looking at whilst thinking about talking about this today. Everyone talks about Harry Potter. Now, I did a big search just to make sure I was going to be right on this statement. There is no book on the entire planet just called Harry Potter. It's a brand. The books are just the things that are sold under that brand. It could have just been J.K. Rowling's brand, but actually she created a character that became bigger than the author. Our brand is the key part to all of this. For most of us, our author name is our brand. Sometimes our character gets bigger than our brand, but that brand is the most important thing. Everything else is a product. If you're going to be on social media, on whatever platform you choose, you have to have a brand. People need to know what they're looking at. If you're jumping around going one moment, this is what I'm having for dinner, the next moment, buy this book, people aren't going to understand where you're coming from because there's no consistency. So that consistency of brand and messaging and picking the right social media platforms that work for you as an author are crucial. LinkedIn is a business platform. Yes, it works for my business book about PR, but actually it helped sell the children's books far better than any other platform I've had. So when you're looking as a brand and building that brand and social media, the best piece of advice is pick 2 social media platforms and focus on those. If you try and focus on 5 or 6 at the same time, you're destined to fail because you can't actually keep up with them. So by all means, use 6 of them, and for 3 or 4 of them, just throw things at it. But for 1 or 2, add value. So put in blog posts, put in comments that actually encourage people to engage with you, and really focus on those 2. If all you do is try and do that across every platform you can find, I wish you luck. You'll probably need a staff of 10 to make it happen, because you just don't have the time. And with the way everything is fragmenting at the moment, it's becoming very difficult to choose which platforms to use. So you do have to go, where is my audience? Who is it I'm trying to talk to? And the best example of showing, think of who your audience is, who do you think advertises on Cartoon Network? Because you're not trying to sell to a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old doesn't have a wallet with money in it. You're actually advertising to stay-at-home parents who are looking after the 5-year-old, because they're the ones spending the money. So when you're thinking about where you're putting your brand, where you're positioning it, what social media you're on, think where your audience is going to be. Who's actually going to be the person that's buying your product? And this is a mistake I see a lot of people making, going, well, actually, we want the kids to know about it. Yes, you do. But actually, you want the person who's got the credit card to know about it even more. And you've got to use that social media, which is where LinkedIn's algorithm currently, and this could change very quickly as it has been doing over the last few months, is the one that works. Parents are going, hang on, that book would be really good for my kid. And that's really what you're looking for. And that's where then the brand comes in, because children devour books. They find a book they like, they will want everything you've ever written. And at that point, none of us can write quickly enough. So that's the place we all want to be at.
Yeah. Lots and lots of good advice there, Chris. Lauren, as a successful published author yourself and successful in podcasting, what's your take on it?
I actually can't wait to piggyback off what Chris just said, because thank you, Chris, for all that valuable information, because you are quite right, actually. Like, your brand is what people are saying about you when you leave the room, really. And this brings me to something I do proactively when people approach me for me to interview them. If I actually haven't had anything to do with them in the past, I stalk them. And so before we have that main interaction, there will be something pop up on my email or through Instagram or however, hi, I've got this book, I'd like to promote it. I happily, absolutely, let's do that. We lock in a date and time, and that is it. In the meantime, I'm looking at your website, I'm looking at your socials, I'm looking at what you're posting, I'm looking at your hashtags, I'm looking at what you're doing online. And then when we finally meet, I'm going to tell you, here's the assumptions I make about what you're posting. Here's the assumptions I'm making about you as an individual. I'm going to tell you what I think you write. I'm going to tell you what I think you're all about. And then you're going to tell me if I'm right or wrong, because this is what publishers and professionals are looking for, especially if you're wanting to break into something like the film market, because they're always looking for production. They're always looking for something new. And I think if you have someone you can trust who can give you that kind of feedback, it's invaluable, because you're not going to know how you're perceived by a stranger.
Very, very true, Lauren. Holly, you have a specific niche. You write for children, but you haven't yet published for children. But you have a niche in writing other stuff. But the same principles apply with author branding. What's your views on it?
Well, the one thing I'm going to say is I know myself, I was very surprised how much branding was required. And I always stress that to people when they're asking about it, because I think that's the thing that I have had more people say to me. They're just like huge surprise. And Yeah, like the branding is just so important. I had originally started with Facebook, and I still will do a little bit, but typically in groups, just in a few small groups. But Instagram and LinkedIn, I find, are the better ones for me. And LinkedIn, I was a little bit slower to lean into because I thought it was maybe because of my topic, because of being an intuitive author, I finally started owning the woo. And I had a few people say, you know, you really can't talk about that on LinkedIn. And I'm like, well, actually, I'm going to. And since I have embraced that, I mean, I see it all the time now. Like it's however you can put the brakes on, and then you're like, well, no, that is me. But it was partly for myself. It was partly like learning that even myself, kind of like a coming out. And it's really been through writing that I discovered. I always wrote, but I didn't always, and I always had the woo, but I didn't always embrace it. And I really, truthfully, wasn't even aware of it. So I know I do tend to be one of those people that will put a few extra things out. And so I'm going to take Lauren up on her, on how she's explained that to us, how she'll give us what what the impression is. Because
Mm.
I know sometimes I think, I wonder if people actually are getting my whole message. So I'm up for that, Lauren.
Happily, let's do it. Holly, I've already looked at you and stalked you.
I kind of had a feeling you had.
Karen, we're going to jump to you. You've successfully published and you're branding yourself beautifully. What's your thoughts?
I agree with everything everybody said, but the one thing that hasn't been mentioned that I think comes through in everything you do is you need to be authentic and you need to be yourself. And as soon as you're not authentic, social media fails, I think. And it's surprising where it can lead. And I've only just realized this because the day before I left to go overseas, I was given a huge opportunity and I had a meeting. And I was approached for this big organisation to do a picture book. And it was not me approaching them, it was them approaching me. And they knew me. And it's local. And so my local book is very successful, but it was also through social media. And also, I think newsprint or something, because I've been on ABC radio and I've also been on a local flyer. So your brand is everything you do, not just social media. It's other things out in your community. It's when you're interviewed in other forms, by other forms of media, and it highlights you as brand and then what you stand for. And then if they like it, sometimes opportunities come your way too, instead of you just hustling for the opportunities, if you know what I mean. They like submitting, and you can be proactive with social media to create a brand, and then things slowly build. It takes time. You can't expect it to happen overnight because being an author takes time. Some people, their fire ignites quickly and they take off. For me, it's been a slow burn, but I've just stayed true to myself. And I agree with Holly. I think, and Chris, LinkedIn is strong. Instagram's great. I love Instagram, and it's really important as an illustrator. And Lauren is right. People look and see what you do.
Absolutely wonderful advice from you all. Over to you, Emma. Now, you're an illustrator, not an author. You still have to have that branding.
Yeah, I think when you're coming in, like I went to university, to do an arts degree. And I think that was really pushed on us early on. Well, not pushed on us, but that we learned very early on the importance of having a portfolio. If you're an artist, your portfolio is like, it speaks for you a lot of the time before you get that job opportunity, that interview. If when you're trying to make that first impression with a potential employer. So I think for illustrators, your brand is sort of an extension of that portfolio that you might have been building from the beginning. I find Instagram is really, really useful. And it's a great platform where you can sort of like share sort of how you are growing as an artist. And I think the more you put your work out there, the more you connect with an audience, the more you create that visibility. And it's so interesting because you just don't know what little bit of art that you've shared out there on a visual platform like Instagram will connect with someone. You can't really guess. It's like a piece that maybe with your like a 5-minute sketch that you've posted might really speak to someone, and that could open up an opportunity where maybe something you've labored over for a few days doesn't get the attention you anticipate. Like it's interesting to sort of see, you can't really predict what will capture people because art's just such a subjective medium. Another thing I think is important, because it can be really difficult being a creative when you're a writer or an illustrator. You have to wear so many hats, and being your own marketing person in a sense is, just one another hat. So I always try and find the joy and really tap into that. And I think that helps, keep it really sustainable to build that. Like if you have that joyful foundation, it keeps you feel like it creates that sustainable foundation that helps motivate you to make those posts, to connect with your audience, to share what you're working on. If it all comes from that, you got to keep asking you that question: what do I really love right now? What really lights me up? Like, because it can feel a little bit overwhelming. It can sort of feel a bit like a chore to sort of keep being your own marketing person. So if you can sort of bring it all back to that joy and keep checking in with yourself and being like, what do I love? What am I excited about? I think that also helps share the human side of it too, which I think is still so important on digital platforms because we're all just on our phones or on our computer. So that really helps as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've all shared some really important tips, particularly new authors out there who want to make it big time. It's essential. You have to see, if you want to get published, you have to work at it as a business. And, that's the side you're talking about, Emma, but you've got to kind of balance it out with, think of all the joyful creative moments and, but they're things that you have to realise it is a business. Socials are there, use them. You never know who's watching you. I know I myself, when authors come to me, first thing I do is go to social media. Where are you? How are you portrayed? Really important. And I think, as Holly and Karen both said, be yourself. Just be yourself. Be authentically you, because and I think you might have touched on that a little bit too, Chris. Just be you. You're not for everyone. Not everyone's for you. It's
your
really
best
important.
messaging. It's
any
your
last
best
words?
message to the world. If you're being authentic, your message to the world is going to be the correct message. You don't need to sit there and spend days working out what you should be saying, because it's you. So definitely being authentic is crucial to everything you do. Yes, it's a brand, but you want people to buy into that brand. Be yourself.
And being on this podcast series, we're all being ourselves, but we're all being true to what we do. So thank you for the opportunity, Jennifer, because you're increasing our author or creative brands.
Yeah,
too.
yes, absolutely. And I love the way that, we just talk openly and honestly, and that's the whole point of it. There's no right or wrong. There's no, there's ups and downs and everything in between. And it's a part of the process, isn't it? It's just forever being on that roller coaster and take one step at a time. So anyone else with some last words, final words? Lauren?
Actually, yeah, is that okay if I
Yeah.
jump in? About being authentic, I couldn't agree with everyone more, because if you're in Karen's position where you are actually approached, you don't want to let a publisher or a film exec or anyone down by going, well, actually, oh, you wanted me to write comedy? Well, at the moment, I'm doing horror or something. If you're authentic and someone approaches you, it's because you're putting out that portrayal of what your work is about. And if you're someone like Karen, who is actually now being approached, you've got to be careful how you do market yourself, because you don't want to give anyone the wrong impression. Everyone is so busy that if you're in that like situation to be approached, you want to nail it. You want to give them exactly what they want if they've come to you.
Yeah,
That is so true.
I think it's important because I'm transitioning from doing animation to illustration over the past few years, and I have a little bit of my like animation portfolio out there still, but I'm no longer sort of offering those services as much. I think it's really important with your marketing and your branding that you communicate clearly the kind of things you're looking to do, that you're excited to do, that you're interested in working on, because I think that really helps people know, you know, this person really enjoys illustrating cute fuzzy animals, or this person loves to write in this genre. I think your brand can sort of help communicate that, and that also helps you get in the right opportunities that align really well with what maybe your goals are.
Yeah, it's being in that alignment, isn't it? Last words from you, Holly?
Well, I just think there's always things that we can improve on. And I know myself, I'm already thinking, what am I going to be changing? I'm working on a website, as I have alluded to, and it's almost ready. So just the perfect timing for me to switch up a couple of things.
Yeah. Okay, and we are going to finish it there. We could talk forever, however, we simply can't. Thank you, everyone, once again for your wisdoms and insights. Next week, when we come together, we will be talking about something everyone wants to know about, and that's traditional as opposed to self-publishing, the whys and hows and what's best for you. And it's a bit of a Pandora's box, so I'm looking forward to that one. So thank you, everyone, and I'll see you all next week.
Thank you.